She didn't say anything. She didn't question you. She didn't react the way you expected. But she was watching, not what you said, not what you promised. She was watching how you handled one specific moment, and that moment decided more than you realize. Stay till the end of this video, because most men lose attraction after this moment without ever knowing why. Subscribe and comment ready. The next sections show how to pass this moment without trying, forcing, or changing who you are. The moment men don't realize matters. Men think attraction changes because of big events, arguments, confessions, mistakes. But women don't decide attraction in loud moments. They decide it in quiet ones. Moments where nothing is said, nothing is demanded, nothing is explained, just behavior. That's when she watches most closely. Why this moment is so important. This moment appears when things feel uncertain. Not bad, not good, just unclear. Energy shifts slightly. Timing feels different. Something feels off, but not broken. That's the moment. And how you move inside that uncertainty tells her everything. What she is actually watching. She's not testing you. She's observing. She's watching. Do you rush to fix uncertainty? Do you lose emotional balance? Do you need reassurance to stay calm? Or do you stay steady when clarity disappears? That answer tells her whether emotional connection feels safe. Why men fail this moment? Because men are wired to respond, to clarify, to stabilize, to restore order. So when uncertainty appears, men act. They adjust tone. They change pace. They lean emotionally. They don't realize they're reacting. But she does. The first thing she notices your emotional posture. Not your confidence. Not your words. Your posture. Do you stay centered? Or do you shift toward her reactions? That shift is subtle. But once she feels it, her behavior changes. Why this shift feels dangerous to her. When a man's calm depends on outcomes, a woman's nervous system tightens. Not because she dislikes him, but because she senses responsibility. Responsibility creates pressure, and pressure changes attraction into caution. Why she doesn't say anything? Because nothing wrong happened. You didn't cross a line. You didn't say the wrong thing. You just reacted. And reactions don't need explanations to change feelings. So instead of explaining, she watches. The silent question she is asking. In that moment, she's asking herself, can this man hold himself steady when things aren't clear? That question matters more than charm, more than effort, more than intention. Most men feel the shift. They sense distance. They feel uncertainty. And they try to fix it. They ask questions. They become more attentive. They explain themselves. That response confirms what she already felt. Why trying to fix this moment fails? Because the moment wasn't about behavior. It was about self-regulation. When you rush to remove uncertainty, you show discomfort with emotional space. That discomfort is what pushes attraction away. Important pause. This is not about being cold, not about ignoring her, not about playing games. It's about staying grounded inside yourself. Most men don't know how to do that. Why this moment is rare? Because it doesn't announce itself. There's no warning, no signal, just a subtle shift, and a quiet decision forming in her mind. What this moment decides whether attraction deepens or attraction becomes cautious. Everything after this moment follows that direction. Now we go deeper, because even men who stay calm here often fail the next stage, a stage that feels harmless, but destroys attraction silently. Understanding that stage, and knowing how to move through it, is what separates men she remembers from men she slowly detaches from. That's what we break down next. What she felt when you responded. The moment passed quickly. Nothing dramatic happened. No argument. No confrontation. But emotionally, something landed. She felt a shift in how safe the connection was. Not because you said something wrong, but because of how you responded internally. Women don't judge reactions logically. They feel them. And feelings decide attraction. Why a reaction mattered more than your words. Words are easy to control. Reactions are not. You can say the right thing and still communicate instability. When uncertainty appeared, your body responded before your mind did. Your tone changed slightly. Your pace shifted. Your presence leaned forward. That leaning is what she felt. Not consciously, instinctively. The second thing she noticed. After your first reaction, she noticed how you stayed afterward. Did you return to yourself? Or did you remain emotionally alert? Many men stay in monitoring mode. They watch replies. They track energy. They wait for reassurance. That waiting changes the dynamic, because now the connection is regulating you. Why emotional monitoring creates pressure? Monitoring doesn't feel aggressive. It feels careful. But careful energy feels tense. When your attention becomes outcome-focused, she feels responsible for maintaining your calm. Responsibility is heavy, and heavy emotions push attraction into caution. The mistake men make right after. After sensing uncertainty, men often overcorrect. They become more polite, more agreeable, more emotionally available. They soften themselves to avoid friction. But friction isn't the issue. Emotional imbalances. Over-accommodation removes polarity. Why polarity disappears here? Polarity exists when two people remain distinct. When you adapt too much to her emotional state, that distinction fades. You stop leading energy. You start matching it. Matching feels cooperative, but attraction needs contrast. What she is really watching now. At this stage, she's watching one thing. Can you stay yourself when things feel slightly off? Not perfect, not distant. Yourself. If your personality tightens, if your presence feels cautious, if your energy feels smaller, she notices. Why men don't realize they've changed? Because the change is internal. You don't behave badly. You don't say anything wrong. You just stop being relaxed. And relaxation is a huge part of attraction. When that disappears, something vital goes with it. The quiet emotional shift that follows. After this moment, she doesn't leave. She adjusts. She shares less. She leans in slower. She protects her emotions, not because she's punishing you, but because her nervous system is recalibrating. Why women don't talk about this? Because it's not a conscious decision. She can't explain why she feels different. She just does. And feelings don't need permission to change. So instead of explaining, she watches. The difference between being present and being alert. Presence feels calm. Alertness feels tense. Many men confuse the two. They think they're being attentive, but they're actually being reactive. Women feel the tension underneath, and tension kills emotional safety. What self-regulation looks like here? Self-regulation means you feel uncertainty without acting from it. You notice discomfort without trying to remove it. You stay engaged without leaning forward emotionally. That steadiness changes everything. Why this steadiness is attractive? Because it signals strength, not dominance, not control, strength of self. A man who can stay calm when things are unclear feels safe to open up to. What most men do wrong next. After noticing distance, men often escalate. They explain themselves. They clarify intentions. They reassure more. That escalation confirms what she already felt. It tells her, this man needs things to be okay to stay okay. What this moment really means. This moment isn't about fixing the connection. It's about how you carry yourself inside it. If you stay grounded, attraction stabilizes. If you react, attraction becomes cautious. Now we reach the stage that breaks most men. Even men who handled the first moment well often fail the next one, not by reacting, but by becoming too comfortable. Understanding that stage and learning how to move through it is what determines whether attraction lasts or slowly fades away. That's what we break down next. The stage where most men relax too soon. This is where things feel calm again. No tension, no confusion, no obvious distance. From the outside, it looks like you handled the moment well, and that's where most men make their next mistake. They relax, not physically, emotionally. They stop choosing their presence. They assume attraction is now stable. That assumption is where things quietly change again. Why comfort can weaken attraction? Comfort isn't bad, but comfort without awareness becomes flat. When uncertainty passes, men often drop their emotional intention. They move on mentally. They disengage slightly. They think stability will carry things forward on its own. But attraction doesn't survive on stability alone. It needs intentional presence. What she starts noticing now, she notices whether you're still emotionally awake. Not alert. Not tense. Awake. Does your energy still feel chosen? Or does it feel automatic? Women feel the difference immediately. Automatic presence feels predictable. Chosen presence feels alive. The subtle way men stop leading. Men don't stop leading loudly. They stop leading quietly. They stop setting tone. Stop bringing emotional direction. Stop expressing rhythm. They respond instead of initiate emotionally. This doesn't create conflict. It creates stagnation. Why women don't complain here? Because nothing is wrong. You're still kind, still present, still consistent. But attraction isn't responding anymore. And women don't argue about feelings they can't explain. They adapt. The quiet signal attraction is slipping. The signal isn't distance. It's neutrality. She engages, but doesn't invest. She responds, but doesn't lean. This neutrality is often mistaken for peace. It's not. It's reassessment. Why men misread this signal? Men see neutrality and think, good, no drama. So they relax further. They invest less emotionally. They stop directing energy. That confirms what she already felt. The difference between stability and flatness. Stability feels grounded. Flatness feels empty. The difference is intention. A grounded man chooses how he shows up. A flat man just shows up. Women feel that difference instantly. Why this happens to good men most? This stage doesn't affect careless men. It affects good men. Men who value peace, avoid emotional risk, don't want to pressure. They remove intensity to stay safe. But attraction doesn't grow in safety alone. It grows where safety and polarity coexist. What emotional leadership looks like here? Leadership here is subtle. You don't dominate. You don't retreat. You remain expressive without chasing. You remain present without hovering. Your tone stays natural. Your rhythm stays yours. That consistency keeps attraction alive. Why polarity fades when you coast? When you coast emotionally, polarity disappears. Not because you did something wrong, but because you stopped doing something right. You stopped choosing presence. What holding your center requires now? Holding your center means you don't assume attraction is secured. You don't stop engaging emotionally. You don't flatten yourself to maintain peace. You stay curious. You stay expressive. You stay grounded. Why women feel safer when you do this? Because it tells her, this man is still himself. He didn't disappear into comfort. He didn't tighten under uncertainty. He stayed awake. That feels safe and attractive. The decision she is making here. At this stage, she's deciding, does this man remain emotionally alive? Or does he fade once things feel settled? She doesn't say this out loud. She feels it. And her behavior follows that feeling. Why men notice too late? Men wait for obvious signs. Arguments. Cold behavior. Clear rejection. But attraction often fades quietly. By the time men notice, the emotional decision has already been made. Now we reach the final layer. Because even men who recognize this stage often undo everything with one final behavior. A behavior that feels reasonable, but permanently weakens attraction. Understanding the psychology behind that behavior, knowing what to do instead, and resolving the dynamic correctly. That's what brings everything together. That's what we close with next. The psychology behind what she was watching. She wasn't watching your words. She wasn't judging your intentions. She was watching how you regulate yourself. A woman's nervous system is constantly reading emotional signals, not consciously, instinctively. When uncertainty appears, her body asks one question. Does this man stay steady, or does he need things to be clear to stay calm? That answer decides whether attraction feels safe or risky. When you stayed grounded, her nervous system relaxed. When you leaned emotionally, it tightened. That's the psychology behind the moment. Not logic, not analysis. Regulation. What you do right now. If you want to handle this moment correctly in real life, the adjustment is internal. You slow down inside. You don't rush to explain. You don't rush to fix. Your tone stays natural. Your presence stays open. Your pace stays yours. You allow uncertainty to exist without trying to remove it. If she opens up, you listen calmly. If she doesn't, you don't chase the opening. You remain engaged, but not attached to outcome. That balance removes pressure instantly. Your mistake when you apply this. Most men misunderstand this lesson. The first mistake is becoming distant. They hear, don't react, and withdraw emotionally. They reduce warmth. They hold back expression. That doesn't feel steady. It feels unavailable. The second mistake is acting calm instead of being calm. Men suppress emotion instead of regulating it. They tighten internally while pretending to relax. Women feel that tension immediately. The third mistake is assuming the moment is over. Men relax emotionally once things feel okay. They stop leading presence. They drift into autopilot. That's when attraction flattens. Why these mistakes feel invisible? Because nothing explodes. There's no argument, no confrontation, no clear rejection, just a subtle emotional drift. Men look for behavior. Women respond to feelings. By the time behavior changes, the internal decision already happened. The correct resolution. The resolution isn't control. It isn't distance. It isn't more effort. It's emotional leadership. You lead by regulating yourself. You stay expressive without chasing. You stay present without hovering. You stay warm without leaning. If she leans in, you meet her calmly. If she pauses, you don't rush to fill space. You allow attraction to settle naturally, or reveal itself honestly. Either way, you remain intact. Why this restores attraction? Because attraction grows where there is freedom and strength. Freedom from managing your emotions. Strength in your presence. When she feels she can be emotional without carrying you, her nervous system relaxes again. Relaxation opens the door to attachment. Not suddenly, but steadily. The quiet shift that follows. Handled consistently, something changes. She stops guarding. She stops evaluating. She leans in emotionally without trying. Not because you convinced her, but because nothing felt unsafe. That's when attraction stabilizes. She didn't change because you failed. She changed because she noticed something subtle. When you understand that, you stop reacting and start leading. This isn't about control. It's about self-mastery. That's what makes a man unforgettable. If this helped you see things clearly, let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you want calm, honest psychology that helps you move with confidence instead of confusion. And before you go, watch the next video on your screen. It breaks down the moment men think they're doing nothing wrong, but quietly lose attraction anyway. This channel isn't about tricks. It's about staying centered when it matters most.